Hey, I mean, I really think you just got to look at the pitching from Zach Wheeler tonight. Really set the tone. It just felt like the Phillies game right from the get-go, man. These Phillies hitters right now, they're just locked in. Couple days off, didn't do any harm to them. Honestly, like this Phillies team, everywhere, they're just locked in all over the place. Home runs, great pitching. The fans are just on their feet throughout the whole game. This Phillies team, they just feel so good right now. You got to love what they're doing. But for me, the player of the game, I know we had home runs from Schwarber finally waking up in this postseason. I was wondering if Schwarber was going to come alive at some point in this postseason, and I'm glad he got it started off right away, because let's say Harper, Castellanos, maybe one of those guys somehow, some way go cold. Schwarber's a guy who had been cold, and you want him to start getting it going a little bit. And to me, that was the best way you could start a series, is starting it off with the home run. Harper with his 4th home run of the postseason. I swear, every single Bryce Harper home run in the postseason. I said this on Twitter earlier, and I made some people grumpy, and my fault. I didn't really fully explain my thought process. Sometimes I'm just tweeting out stuff, and I don't fully explain what my potato brain is thinking. But I put out a tweet. Saying Bryce Harper might actually be the most electric postseason performer. And of course, I had my fellow Red Sox fans coming after me saying, have you heard of David Ortiz? Do you remember David Ortiz? Of course I remember David Ortiz. But to me, the word electric is, I don't know what it is. It's a little different to me. David Ortiz was not, for me at least, was not an electric postseason performer. He was a legendary postseason performer. I put David Ortiz at that top tier. If we're doing tier maker, he's in the S tier for me when it comes to postseason performers. Harper's up there too, but he's nowhere near David Ortiz. He's nowhere near David Ortiz's stratosphere. But Harper, what I meant by that, when I tweeted that out saying he might be the most electric performer of all time, I mean, there's just something about him, man. Like every time he hits a home run, I mean, the fans definitely make it something. They go crazy. But every single home run he hits, it's just a bomb. There's a swagger to it. There's just something, to me, electric about it. I can't even describe it. It feels like every home run he hits, it's just a gargantuan swing. It's a beautiful swing. And he just stands and watches it. Right? That, to me, is electric. That to me is awesome. And when he's standing there and he's watching it go and the fans are going crazy, that's electric to me. David Ortiz was legendary to me. I hope that clears it up, because I had some people getting grumpy at me on X-land or Twitterland or whatever you want to call it these days. But Harper, he's not slowing down anytime soon. 4th home run of the postseason. Castellanos as well. This guy's going crazy right now for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's having a fantastic postseason. I mean, honestly, when you just take a look at the numbers, it's just something else with him. A 1.414 OPS in this postseason, hitting 370 on the postseason. Bryce Harper hitting 409 on the postseason, a 1.522 OPS. Look at Trey Turner as well, having a good game today, 2 for 4, hitting 500 this postseason. I mean, everyone is just clicking right now for this Phillies team. Real Muto getting in on the action today with an RBI. He's been pretty solid. Brandon Marsh getting in on the action a little bit today. Honestly, I just really like this. I love the way the Phillies are playing right now. It's just feels like they got energy on their side. It just feels like they have the momentum on their side. And the Diamondbacks, they didn't make it easy. They clawed back. They fought back as much as they could in the top of the 6th. They got the home run from Perdomo. You got the sac fly from Alek Thomas. So they chipped away, and I was wondering, man, were they maybe going to get something done here? And they just came up short in the end. They left some left some runners on base tonight. And in the end, the Phillies, just too much. Just too much tonight. Too much star power in this lineup. I mean, when you got Schwarber and Harper and Castellanos all hitting dingers, I mean, it's kind of hard to beat that. But Zach Wheeler, to me, Sure, he did give up the home run to Perdomo, but Zach Wheeler was the guy that he just got locked in right away. My goodness, he was just something else tonight. Everything just looked so good. He only threw 81 pitches. That's another great thing with Wheeler here as well. Because if, you go back to him maybe in a few games, he threw 81 pitches here. He's going to be really good to go for his next start. That's awesome if you ask me. Bullpen looked good. Dominguez did give up the run. Alvarado, yeah, sure. Maybe there was a little bit of a bump there, with the sac fly and whatnot. But in the end, Kimbrel, sure, he's going to give you a heart attack every time he comes out there. He's never just going to make it smooth. That's the one thing with Craig Kimbrel, man. The guy, luckily he's got the stuff he has, because without that guy is just going to get wrecked. But Kimbrel coming through with the save tonight. You got to love it. Gallen getting to the pitching side of things for the Diamondbacks. Sure, they scratched, they clawed their way back as much as they could. But Gallen, to me, that was the difference. Wheeler just set the tone with the pitching right from the beginning. Zach Gallen did not. Gallen, can you really blame the guy at this point? I mean, anyone that goes into Philly, it just feels like they're getting punched in the face. It feels like it's almost impossible to go into Philly right now and just get comfortable. And Gallen just didn't look very comfortable from the get-go. I mean, giving up 3 home runs here, 8 hits overall, 5 earned. He went 5, so he gave his team, the best he could. At least he went 5. So I guess from a bright side point of view, you can look at it that, at least you didn't have to completely tax the bullpen tonight. Sure, you used 3 guys, but that is one thing you can take into game 2 is that the bullpen is, not taxed. So that is one thing you can look at there. But in the end, I think that was the difference. Wheeler set the tone. Gallen did not. Gallen didn't hold it down. Even if Gallen had kept it to around maybe 2 runs, I think that would have been a win. But in the end, Wheeler, to me, sure, the couple of home runs, from Harper, from Castellanos, from Schwarber, you got Real Muto getting in on the action. Harper also drove in another run later on in the game as well after the homer earlier in the game. But to me, Wheeler is the player of the game because he just got the hitters. It just feels like these hitters right now love when he pitches because he's going to lock it down. He's on another level right now. Wheeler's pitching fantastic. So in the end, hey, what else is there to say with the Phillies right now? Everything's just looking really good with them. And I don't know, man. I came into this series saying, don't overlook the Diamondbacks right now. Don't sleep on them. And I think tonight they showed a lot of fight. It feels like they've, sure, the Braves, they had the comeback win that they had. But it just feels like right now, no one has really, besides that one Braves win, it just feels like no one's really been able to do anything against this Phillies team. And the Diamondbacks tonight, it felt like, sure, they got down early. They got in that hole early on. But it just felt like they just scratched and clawed more than any other team has, besides the one Braves win where they came back and won. But it feels like the Diamondbacks actually fought tonight. Even despite getting down in an early hole, they just kept trying to come back. And to me, I think that's something to keep your head up for game 2 for the Diamondbacks. And I think you can go into game 2, and I think you can still feel pretty good about yourselves that you didn't get – it looked like the Phillies were going to win this one like 10-0 tonight. It kind of felt like that was the way it was going. And the Diamondbacks, they just held firm, man. They stayed tough, and they battled here tonight. So I think for game 2, this series is not lost for the Diamondbacks yet. But for the Phillies – it just feels like it's just something different right now with the Phillies. So I'm not sure if the Zips projections have updated yet. I'm guessing probably not. Actually, maybe they have. No, they have not updated yet. Coming into this series, it was looking right down the middle, 50-50. But right now, you just got to think the Phillies have a huge advantage at the moment. I don't know what else really to say about that. But that's my thoughts on this game overall. I just think Wheeler was key. I just think great pitching from him. Great pitching, to me, is always the key for the postseason. And then you just let your guys in the lineup just do their job. Harper, again, It's just something different about this guy, man, in the postseason. I'm going to say it one more time if you are just coming in. I put on Twitter, I think Bryce Harper could be the most electric performer in the postseason. I think people were getting my thoughts a little mixed up a little bit because, of course, David Ortiz, I mean, of course, he's amazing. To me, David Ortiz is a legend. He's a legendary postseason performer. Bryce Harper is electric. There's just something different. There's a swagger with Bryce Harper. You got to love what Harper's doing right now in this postseason. He's been fantastic. All of these guys on the Phillies are fantastic right now. They're going to be very tough to beat in this series. And for game 2, you got Merrill Kelly, you got Aaron Nola. Maybe with Merrill Kelly, it's a bit of a different look. Gallen's a guy. He's going to come at you some really good stuff. Kelly, he's not really going to be that overpowering kind of guy. He'll come at you with some pretty decent stuff. He's going to get the ground balls. He's going to get the defense behind him working. So maybe that could be a bit of a different look against the Phillies here. Maybe that could cause them some problems. But the problem that the Diamondbacks are going to face is Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola, it looks like he has really gotten himself figured out. So I think game 2 could be pretty interesting, but I think the Diamondbacks keeping it close in game 1. I think that's something to think about moving in to game 2. But the game that got everything started today was the Astros and the Rangers. And listen, everyone, listen, I said coming into this series, I predicted the Rangers to win this series. I am not very good with my predictions. You all know this. It's kind of a running joke on this channel. But I felt something with this Rangers team coming into this series. Something. I like the Astros. I like them coming into this series, but I just felt like I liked the Rangers a little bit more. I almost couldn't explain it. There's kind of like the Phillies. There's this energy right now with this Rangers team. And man, they got it started just like the Phillies did tonight. Huge first inning for the Rangers. It all got started off with the Framber Valdez error. The throwing error with Robbie Grossman had the tapper back. Should have been a routine play on to first. That to me, something feels different about Framber Valdez this postseason. We've seen Framber Valdez be absolutely nails the last couple of postseasons. Something feels different with him. I don't know what it is. It's the guy just doesn't seem to have that same bulldog mentality that we have seen in the last couple of postseasons. He just seems different. I don't know. It feels like he's really pressing out there. Jim of Ballcap Sports said it best when we, did our stream together previewing this series. He just looks tired. Like, I don't know. Like, he just doesn't feel the same, right? It feels like he doesn't have that same command. Feels like he's really battling out there. He's really trying to battle through something, whether that's something mechanically or what it may be. Fatigue, maybe both. But something just doesn't feel right with Valdez at this point. And again, like Wheeler with the Phillies, Valdez kind of just set the tone there with that play. And once that happened, the Rangers were just off for the races. Garcia with the base hit, Garver with the base hit, Lowe with the base hit, 4-0 right out of the gate. And that quieted the crowd down. So, man, it was just something. Honestly, like, I know the Astros have not played well at home this year. But to me, when it comes to the regular season, I don't know, man. Like, the postseason to me, that is just something completely different. Sure, yeah, you can look at how some of these guys did in the regular season, and maybe you can look at it for the postseason. But a lot of the times, you just flip the page, right? And I wasn't really looking at that home record for the Astros very much. But something doesn't feel right. Whenever you would, in the years past, when you go into Houston, something was just different. You were worried going into Houston. This is a good team, but they just don't feel the same, while the Rangers feel like they got all the momentum right now. Heim with the home run in the top of the third, 5-1. Bregman, Alvarez, they helped out as much as they could. And I'm going to say this right now. Alvarez, listen, I don't know. I know there's some people in this chat right now where you've been with me for the last couple of years. How many times did I say last year, not last week, not last month, not even a couple months ago, last year, maybe even longer than that, I've been saying here with Yordan Alvarez, he is the closest thing that reminds me of David Ortiz. I've been saying this for so long now, and now it's like now people all over X-land, Twitterland, whatever you want to call it. Now I'm like seeing all these tweets. Yordan Alvarez is the closest thing to David Ortiz. I've been saying this for over a year. Yordan Alvarez is literally like the same build as David Ortiz. You can even argue the guy's even just more of a presence than David Ortiz. I mean, from a stature point of view, Yordan Alvarez is an absolute monster in that box. Ortiz was too, but there's a little extra beef on Yordan Alvarez. No disrespect to Big Papi, he's a legend. Of course, I've said that like 8 times in this stream alone. But there's something about Alvarez in that box. Like, I would be just shivering in my boots if I had to go up against Yordan Alvarez. And this guy is just, he's just something different in the postseason. Now, unfortunately, for the Astros, it just wasn't enough today. Bregman got on the action, had a home run there. They chipped away as much as they could, and it felt like maybe the Astros maybe had something in the end, and they just weren't able to close the deal. Pena had a near home run in the 9th inning. I thought Pena might have tied it. In the end, just wasn't enough. Nathan Eovaldi today. I mean, give so much credit to Nathan Eovaldi. And yeah, I'm going to be as biased as can be right now. Nasty Nate, man. When it comes to postseason play, good grief. Nathan Eovaldi, something comes on with this guy. A light switch turns on with Nathan Eovaldi. 6 innings here, 5 hits, 3 earned, 9 Ks. He's looking great. I don't know, man. Everything just looks really good. Chapman, of course, we got to talk Chapman. Chapman's always having his postseason struggles. He just never feels right in the postseason. And, of course, he got pulled. But, honestly, give a lot of credit to Bruce Bochy there. Give a lot of credit to Bruce Bochy. Because Bruce Bochy, instead of leaving him in there, he went out there and got him, right? And I think that was a really good move. Because he didn't let the moment become bigger, right? He got Chapman out of there before anything else could happen. I think that was the best possible move, and that's what you need to do with Chapman. It feels like Chapman, something mentally happens with him, but I think Bochy, that's why he's so good at what he does. He just has such a good feel for the game, right? I know he's, one of these veteran managers. He's been around. This is, it's not his first day on the job. But he just has that feel, and that's what experience does for these guys. He's seen it all. He's seen every type of reaction from players. He has seen players just get annihilated out there. He has seen guys have amazing performances. So he knows, and he just knew there was something with Chapman, and he just didn't feel it. And he just pulled him. And I think that was the best possible thing he could have done before, and they escaped any further damage at that point. And I think that was one of the keys to this game. He brought in the clerk, went to the closer early. Instead of just trying to let Chapman get through that, he just said, nah, we got to take you out here, man. We need you for the rest of this series. We need you to reset for the next game, right? Leclerc, this guy is on another level. I've said that, I feel like, 20 times already in this show. Jose Leclerc is having a fantastic postseason, and I think it needs to be respected a little bit more. He's been awesome right now. I mean, yeah, sure, a couple of walks here. But Jose Leclerc, man, he's been fantastic. So, overall, I said this coming into the series. Something feels different about this Rangers team right now. And I said this too. I said this in the preview show. This series feels like it should go 7 games, but I told you I wouldn't be surprised if it's a shorter series. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 6 games. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe even it goes 5, because these are what these two teams do, right? It just feels like wins against one another come in bunches, all right? The Astros kicked the crap out of the Rangers about a month ago. The Rangers, they had a couple of, good solid wins against the Astros earlier on in the year. These two teams have beat up on each other this year, and it feels like the Rangers, I know the Astros can absolutely get back into this thing, but it's looking bad. It's not looking good. And the Astros have one last shot, in my opinion. They have one last shot. Scherzer's on the mound for Game 3. You have to get to Scherzer. This is your opportunity here. If you want to get some momentum going, you got the perfect opportunity. But with Scherzer, I feel like I've said this before. I said this last night. He, to me, is one of the biggest X factors in postseason history, in my opinion, because we all know what Scherzer can do when he's at his best. We all know. We've seen what Scherzer can do. We've seen it in the regular season. We've seen it in the postseason before. Obviously, with the Mets, it didn't really come up big time for them, right? But to me, I feel like you don't know what you're going to get. When you look at it from a common sense point of view, I think he could end up being probably not very good, or a lot of rust is going to show. I think if you can get 4 or 5 innings out of him, I think that's a win. Because listen, when it comes to these pitchers, man, when you've had a couple of weeks, a few weeks off, you're not just going to get back into especially come back into a postseason game. Tells me you're probably not going to have your best stuff. I think the best course of action is try to get Scherzer one time through this lineup and then just monitor him from that point, right? One time through the lineup. After that, get ready to get some guys warm, because I wonder if he's not at his best, maybe the hitters will start picking up on him a little bit. To me, I think 4 innings, 5 innings out of Scherzer, that's a win. And then you can go to Andrew Heaney. You can go to Dane Dunning after that. I know Dane Dunning, on Fangraphs, it says he is the scheduled Game 4 starter. Could you go to Dunning a little early in this series, go to him for a Game 3, and maybe you can go Heaney for Game 4, or maybe you can just go Heaney after Scherzer. The good thing with the Rangers is they have that flexibility after Max Scherzer. So, to me, this is as much of a crossroads to me in a series that I can remember, right? When it comes to Scherzer, again, he's a huge X factor for me. Now, Christian Javier for the Astros, he's been looking pretty solid lately. So I think the Rangers, they're going to have a pretty tough time against him. But the way these bats are looking right now, everyone is just looking really good. Everyone is just swinging well, man. I mean, if you go here to how these guys are performing, I mean, Corey Seager in the postseason. We've all seen what he can do in the postseason before. No surprise, he is having a great postseason. Evan Carter. I thought I had mentioned Evan Carter in yesterday's game, and I slipped on that. I apologize for not mentioning Evan Carter with the catch that he had in Game 1. Evan Carter has been so good in this postseason. Again, I thought I mentioned him. I don't know how I missed that. I apologize. But Evan Carter, holy cow, man. He's been just so good in this postseason. Didn't really get a whole lot going here today. Had the walk today. Didn't start today's game because you had the lefty and Valdez, so they didn't want to go with the lefty-lefty matchup. Honestly, I feel like you should have just put Carter in. He's been that good. But in the end, actually, it worked out with Grossman starting because, you had that play that kind of got everything started today with Grossman. So overall, the Rangers bats, they're just looking really solid. Semien, on the postseason, only hitting 188, but he had a couple of hits here today. Adolis Garcia, got in on the action a little bit today, driving in the run early on. Everyone, to me, they're just having really good at-bats, and I just like this Rangers team right now, and I think this Astros team is in huge trouble. I think they're in huge trouble, and this is their last shot. I think if the Astros lose Game 3, I think they're getting swept. I think this Rangers team, they just look better in every way. The Astros are going to be, tough to put down. But I don't know, man. There's a different feeling about this Rangers team right now. So let me get to the chat. Connor Gray, $4.99 super chat. Hated seeing Montgomery, one of my favorite Cardinals players, get traded. I guess building for the future was the best idea. That's how baseball works. And hey, maybe Montgomery can go back to the Cardinals in the offseason. Honestly, why not go back after, Jordan Montgomery? Hey, we traded you away. Business is business. We had to, look towards the future like you just mentioned, Connor. But, hey, we've seen guys go back to their old team after getting traded. Honestly, I think for the Cardinals, you need a few starting pitchers. Why not bring Jordan Montgomery back? Why not throw him a pretty good contract? He was really good this year. But Montgomery, man, the great start that he had with the Rangers. Again, it's matchup-wise, the Rangers just feel really tough right now. just game to game, they're just tough to beat. So, let me get to the chat here. Christian Rodriguez, how you doing? Robbie, if you see this, if it was Phillies Rangers, who do you think wins it? Just want to see your thoughts. I'm going to be honest with you, Christian. No disrespect to the Rangers. And I know Rangers fans are going to get grumpy at me right now. I just like the Phillies. After the Phillies beat the Braves in that series, I said it. I said I think the Phillies are winning the World Series. This is, to me, yeah, I picked the Marlins for just the upset of the century in that wild card round. I thought if there's any team that could just do something ridiculous in the wild card round, maybe that Marlins team could do something. They knew that Phillies team. They had some pretty good pitching. Maybe they could just be that team that just shocks the world. And they couldn't do it. But after that Braves series, the Phillies just, I don't know. There's just something different. Something different with this Phillies team. And same thing with the Rangers. To me, I think it's going to be Rangers-Phillies. I said that coming into this series, coming into both of these series here. So, in the end, the Astros, I think they have their last shot for Game 3. I do think the Diamondbacks are not completely done, right? It's Game 1. The Phillies, they had a good, solid Game 1 here. They got started right away. But I do respect that the Diamondbacks held it pretty close for the rest of the game. They clawed back, and I respect that. And I think they're going to try and bring that momentum into the next game, because I think that told the Diamondbacks, said, hey, we do have a shot here, right? We did really claw back. We did scratch and claw. I've said that, I feel like, a million times. But I'm not going to count the Diamondbacks out just yet. I know it might look like an easy Phillies series win, but I think you could see the D-backs maybe tie this up. I'm not going to quit on them just yet, but it's going to be tough against Aaron Nola. Would not be surprised at all if the Phillies jump out to a 2-0 series lead. I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies sweep this series. But I am not going to pick the Diamondbacks to get swept, because I said the Dodgers were going to sweep the Diamondbacks, and we all saw what happened there, and I look like a complete clown for making that pick. So, anyway, Dulcimer, yeah, that's a good point as well. Hoskins should be back if the Phillies get into the World Series. Yeah, I saw some news about him. Hey, we'll have to see. Why not? Rhys Hoskins, big energy guy for this team. But everyone, we do have some news. We do have some news to talk about. It's not just about postseason baseball right now. We have some news when it comes to some front offices, and that's Kim Ng with the Marlins. And my goodness, I didn't expect this one today. I did not expect this one today. Her and the Marlins have now parted ways. That was a very big surprise to me. Did not expect that one. I mean, a solid season. Speaking of the Marlins, a solid season for the Marlins. And you're getting dismissed? Now, I take that back. She didn't get dismissed, right? They did try to exercise the mutual option, but she turned it down, and there's actually been some information coming out here today, is that according to Jeff Passan at 11:25 this morning, the Marlins planned to hire a president of baseball operations this offseason. The new president would have worked above Kim Ng as the team's top baseball executive. If it was this plan of action that led Ng to turn down her side of her mutual option for the Marlins for 2024. Luis, how you doing, my friend? How you doing, Luis? Hello. So, again, I didn't expect this. Did not expect this. And we also had a couple of notes here from Brittany Garoli of The Athletic. So she goes on to say here that one of the primary issues between the sides was the club's decision not to offer Ng a 3-year extension rather than simply pick up their end of the mutual option, a practice that Garoli notes is fairly standard for executives at the end of their current deal who have made significant achievements. It is surprising when a team, when a manager has done, or a general manager, president of baseball operations, where they have made a lot of strides with the team, and they're still not offered anything. That tells me, now I've seen a lot of people talk about this today. A lot of people are coming after the Marlins for this, and rightfully so. The Marlins, they just don't feel like a very well-run organization. Remember, they had brought in Derek Jeter. They've had the fire sales over the years. It does feel like maybe the Marlins, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking here. I really don't know what to say. I want to know. I want to know more of their side of it. I'm not going to sit here and completely dismiss them because to me, I am someone where I want to know more facts. I want to know more information. What was it where they felt like they needed someone above her? And there was actually some notes in here as well. Garoli, she did a great job with this article. It says here, Garoli notes that Ng had plans for personnel changes regarding leadership-level positions in the club's scouting and player development departments, which owner Bruce Sherman opposed. So that tells me that Bruce Sherman probably very much was very pleased that the Marlins, they were able to make the postseason. But there was probably, in my opinion, something from his point of view, he didn't like some of the ideas that she wanted. Maybe not with players, the transactions. I feel like she did a really solid job overall. I feel like she hit more than she missed. Yeah, she missed on a couple of moves, but I feel like for the most part, she did really well. I like the fact that she went out there and made moves, right? She was aggressive. That's what I like that. I like when you have these executives, GMs or president of baseball operations, they go out there and they make the moves. They make the phone calls. They pick up the phone. They get aggressive. I do like that. So, granted, could you maybe make the argument as well? Were those moves? Did those moves really bring the Marlins to the next level? I'm not disrespecting the moves she made, but in the end, was it enough? It wasn't. They got to the postseason, and they couldn't really do anything. Now, I'm not going to put all that on her. She put the Marlins in the best possible position that they could, right, to try and compete. In the end, it wasn't enough, but I do really like a lot of the moves that she made. Go back to the Jesus Luzardo move. That move worked out great, right? He was a broken man with the A's. It just seemed like there was no hope for Luzardo at one point. And they brought him in, and she read that, and she read that completely correct. They said, hey, let's bring him in. We can fix this guy up. We can get him back on track. We can turn him back into like that ace level sort of picture. And he was the game one starter for them in the postseason. So that was a great move for them. They've made a lot of really good moves. Look at what she did for the bullpen, bringing in Tanner Scott. He brought in AJ Puck from the A's as well. David Robertson wasn't great when they first brought him in, but he ended up kind of getting him a little bit more on track towards the end of the season. Jake Berger at the deadline, that ended up being a great move. Josh Bell was pretty solid for the most part. He did a couple of things in the postseason against the Phillies. Brought in Brian De La Cruz, young controllable outfielder who he was okay this year. I feel like he hasn't fully hit that next level that you think he can. But overall, I think the Marlins, and with Kim Ng, they've made some really solid moves over the last couple of years. Jorge Soler as well. That was a really good signing. He had a really good year this year. A lot of power from him this year. So I just think in the end, to me, I don't think it was really a player thing. I think it was more, if they had maybe gotten to the 90 win territory, maybe there could have been a different conversation, but I feel like, or if they had maybe at least won a postseason game, maybe that could have been a different feeling. I feel like if they had gotten to the next level a bit more, I think it's very possible she could still be in this seat. But I think the big thing is how, the ideas that she had for personnel. That seems to be the driving force here. People that she wanted out of certain positions, and Bruce Sherman, though, the problem is his track record doesn't look very good, right? He's just, I don't know. The Marlins, they have kind of been a joke of a franchise over the last several years, right? And they finally have some success, and then you get rid of the person, and I feel like did a really solid job. I don't know. So, I don't know. I feel like you need more information here. I would like to know a bit more before I really jump to conclusions, but on the surface, it does feel like she did a really solid job, and that was very surprising to see her get removed from this role. So now the question is, will she go anywhere different? And all of a sudden, the Red Sox search for a president of baseball operations, the search for maybe a GM, it seems like all of a sudden it's heating up again. Felt like it was ice cold just a couple of days ago. No one wanted to work for the Red Sox. And all of a sudden, you got all these names. However, Chad Jennings did put out tonight that now Derek Falvey, right, of the Twins, Sam Fuld, the GM for the Phillies, who I thought, I liked the idea of Fuld, but then I thought about it more, and I'm like, why would Fuld want to come to the Red Sox? I literally just talked about this last night. Didn't I just talk about this last night, saying where I was making the analogy between the two grocery stores and the manager, they got fired from one, went to another, and they tried calling their boss, and then he tells them, and it's like that boss that got fired would have nothing good to say. So why? It's like, really, it makes a lot of sense that Fuld would decline an interview because he's been with Dave Dombrowski for the last few years, and he got fired, which I think is, to me, looking back on that in hindsight, I know he really depleted that farm. But gosh, looking back on that in hindsight, why couldn't you just give Dave Dombrowski a little bit more time to try and fix that farm? All right, at least build it back up again. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, but not surprised to see Sam Fuld decline the interview, along with Brandon Gomes. I hadn't heard his name for a long time, so not surprised that he's declining the interview. But it looks like there are a few possibilities emerging. James Click, the former Astros general manager, he was there for a few years. He's emerged as a candidate. Neil Huntington, the former Pirates general manager, he was there for a while during those good years for the Pirates in the early 2010s. Craig Breslow, right? He's the assistant GM for the Cubs right now. That's interesting because he has ties with the Red Sox from years back, played for the Red Sox. There was actually a rumor like a month ago or a few weeks ago that the Red Sox are maybe looking to bring him in to help out with the pitching development. So I feel like Breslow as an option to lead the front office right now doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense. I could see him coming in a role to help out with the pitching. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But then you got Eddie Romero, who's already with the Red Sox right now. He is the assistant GM, so I wonder if they go with him. But all of a sudden, now Kim Ng is available. Right now, my money is on Kim Ng going to the Red Sox. Because to me, it just feels like something, like I've noticed this with the Red Sox over the years. When a possibility opens, right, when the Red Sox are all of a sudden, they're in the gutter with something emerges, and it feels like the Red Sox like to jump on those opportunities. The one thing with Kim Ng, is that she's kind of the opposite of Bloom, where Bloom, there was a lot of times where he didn't pull the trigger on something. Chaim Bloom was like the king of interest, right? He showed interest in all of these different players, but he never seemed like he wanted to make the wrong move. Kim Ng is someone that is going to pull the trigger. She's not afraid to make a deal, and I like that. And I wonder if the Red Sox see that, and they say, you know what? Let's get her in. Let's get her in here, and let's see how it goes. I could totally see this happening. What I honestly think ends up happening, I could see her coming in. My money is on her right now. If it's not her, or maybe it could include her, I feel like the Red Sox at this point, because there's no like slam dunk candidate, I wonder if they go with like a coordinated kind of an approach here where they kind of use a few different people, right? They take like a collaborative approach. They take a group effort. I wonder if they do that here, because there's no slam dunk candidate. Maybe you could go with James Click if you want to go with an outside hire. At the end of the day, though, it's going to be tough to really bring in, and this has been in the news, it's going to be tough to bring in a guy that is a formidable candidate because they know what's going on here with the Red Sox. Cora, they've kind of given off this stink that Cora is going to have the say, which to me, it's like you might as well just make Cora the guy. But he says he doesn't want to be the guy, which is just like weird to me. It's like Cora, I think Cora has way more sway in all of this than we all know. He's a guy that has a big voice in that organization. That's why, but people don't want to go there. If they want to go be the lead guy, or in this case, lead woman, right? Why would anyone want that, right? Where you got the person that's, in the hierarchy is below you, they have more say than you. And it feels like you're going into something, you're going into a situation where it just feels like your words are not really going to be very important, right? Or they're not going to be as important as someone like Alex Cora. So, like, who would want to go into a situation like that? Unless it's someone that really wants to prove themselves, right? So, it's going to be interesting. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards you go with, like, Eddie Romero. Maybe you bring someone in, and they kind of do it together, right? But I'm going to lean on Kim Ng being the next person to lead the way for the Red Sox. I don't know why. It's like a gut thing. I can't really even explain it, I don't know. Just feels like it's almost like the stars are aligning with that, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I've talked too much about this. We do have a couple other or did I have some other news? There is also the possibility maybe she can go back to the White Sox. They did note that as well. And honestly, hey, Yordan Alvarez, hey, good thing for him. Getting a couple of home runs today. He seems like he's fine. He's been dealing with a virus. He's been dealing with an upset tummy. He's been dealing with a headache lately. He's not been feeling very well, but he looked pretty well today. But overall, everyone, there's really not too much in the news right now. That's kind of why, if there's anything juicy, I am going to talk about it in these streams. But everyone, I think I'm out of here. I'm tired. I got to go back to work tomorrow morning. I actually had the day off today. It was a teacher work day. I had to get my report cards done today. So, those are all done on my end. So, I'm going to get to bed. I'm tired. I got to wake up in the morning. And, we'll be back at it tomorrow. And let me just double check the schedule for tomorrow. Let me double check that while I'm here. So, only one game on. Tomorrow night, we got the Diamondbacks and the Phillies at 8 o'clock, so I will be live for post-game after that. And I'm going to start getting out of here, everyone. Everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. If you can, on the way out, please hit that like button for me. That's going to help push this out into the algorithm for the people that missed the live show tonight. That'd be greatly appreciated. Hit the bell notification, subscribe if you are new, and share the show for the people that did miss it. And don't forget, everyone, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy, your number one stop for all of your daily fantasy needs. The link is in the description down below. Use the code HYDE at sign up. You get a double on your first deposit up to $100. I've been playing a lot of Underdog Fantasy lately. And honestly, to me, I used to be the guy that was all about joining the fantasy leagues, baseball, football, whatever. But I feel like this is way more up my alley now, because, hey, you also get a chance to maybe win a few bucks. You're all experts out there. Go test your expertise on here. But it's, obviously we're a baseball channel, but you got football on here as well. You got all the different types of games. You can do pick'ems. You can do drafts. The pick'ems I have been preferring a lot lately. So especially with football, now on every Sunday, you got Monday Night Football. You even got Thursday Night Football. It feels like football is on almost every single night now. I don't know. But I like the pick'ems. It's kind of just like a fun way to play. You can do the over-unders there, or you can just do the daily drafts. There's a whole bunch of different drafts that you can do, whether if it's, an $8 league, $9 league, there's a whole bunch of different ones. So go check it out. The link is in the description down below. But don't forget, we got postseason pick'ems as well. We got the postseason pick'ems, and with these teams, we're slowly but surely getting to the World Series. So there's going to be more opportunities for pick'ems here. Obviously, you got more players, so go take advantage of it while you can. But everyone, I'm out of here. Also, make sure you play responsibly. That is the most important thing. Everyone, I am out of here. I want to thank you all for stopping by tonight. Quick show, but I'll be back here tomorrow night. Get yourself some rest, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great night. I'll talk to you next time.